Hello and welcome to, I'm not sure whether to call this episode 24 or whether to call this learning the ropes and have it almost be like a kind of training video. And the reason why I say that is because on the last episode we'd got to Palace Meridian, we were fighting Deval and he called some mechanical mechanical eagles. I can't remember the actual name of them and I will find that out. But kind of what the last few episodes have shown me is that there's a lot about the game that I have not learned. I feel some pretty basic things about this game that I still haven't learned and that I need to learn to go forward. I don't feel that right now I'm prepared, not prepared is not the right word, but I'm not equipped to deal with the enemies. I'm not dealing any damage. So what I've decided to do was go back just a little. We're pretty much in the same place, and what I'll probably do is when it comes to going back I might just go straight back to where we left off, but with all the new improvements that I've got. Now what I mean by that is what I want to do now is I want to focus on learning. In a few of the episodes leading up to this I've been saying, yeah, like you know there's certain things like crafting and inventory and and different weapons that I need to learn, and at some point I'll learn them. But I think this is where we're going to start to learn and really get in depth with this game, because it is a massive game. And yeah, I feel that if I don't learn some of these lessons now, they're going to cause bigger issues going forward. Now, saying that, the one piece of advice I'll give to anyone who may be wanting to restart this game or begin this game or play it for the first time is when you start the game, do a lot of more roaming, do a lot more fighting with the machines, because I feel that's where you really begin to pick things up. And in a lot of ways, this being a blind run through, I've gone through, although there's still a lot of story, I've moved through the story maybe a little bit too quickly. So some of those lessons that I could have learned, we're going to be learning now. Right, so let's start off simply, let's start off easily with the things that we may not know. I was thinking about whether to do this as or do it alone and then kind of show you guys what I've done afterwards, or to go through it with you. And I've kind of decided that because this is a blind playthrough and because I want you guys to learn while I'm learning, we'll do this and you can watch as I'm growing, as I'm learning, and I can maybe explain things so that if any of you do start, a lot of the things the game doesn't kind of tell you in the beginning, you can also pick up and know when you go through it yourself, or if you want to learn more or improve your game. That being said, now let's start off with the simple stuff. In the top right you'll see there's a 16, there's a blue bar which is kind of just over half filled. That is our level bar. Now that might sound simple, but for me I didn't quite realise that. So yeah, we're level 16. Right now we have 9,030 experience points, and to get to level 17 we need 16,000. Now moving over to the top left where you can see the 360 above the red bar, that is our health bar, which I knew that, but what I wasn't sure about is underneath that green bar. That green bar is actually our medical or medicine herb bar. And what I mean by that is if you look at the bottom left where I'm moving along, so I'll move to like our health jar, above that you've got the cross. That cross is our medical herbs. The bar above with the green, that is saying how much of those we have, so how much times we can use that green cross to heal. Underneath we have the healing potion which heals. This symbol here I'm not sure about, which I'm going to have to learn. This symbol here I'm not sure about either, which I'm going to have to learn. And then we've got more potions. That is to call things in, slyly whistle, get things to approach us so we can tap. That's rocks that we were throwing near the beginning of the playthrough, which is something we'll kind of get back into again. But yeah, those are kind of the real basic bits that now we kind of understand, or I'm beginning to understand. Now coming into our inventory, looking at our weapons. So going by our weapons, we have our spear, which is kind of like our melee weapon. We have our Kaja hunter bow, which is our main bow we've been using. We have the tripcaster, which I used against the sawtooth but haven't really used it since, and that's kind of where we lay lay wires on the floor, and then we can trip things up so we can attack them while they're down. We have the rattler, which is kind of our multi-shooter. I don't want to say shotgun, but kind of like a rapid fire, maybe type of shotgun weapon, which I began to use at the end of the last episode. And then underneath that we have our snapshot bow, which is better for criticals and gives more accuracy, but I haven't been using that much either. Right, coming out of that, that's fine. We'll go back into the inventory quickly. We have our outfits as well. So we have our common one, which is what we began with. We have our Nora Brave, which we may have wore for a bit, but I can't remember that. We have our Silent Hunter light gear, which is good for sneaking around, which this is what we've got equipped at the moment. Then we have our Bunak Ice Hunter light. This protects against ice damage. Now, something that happened in the last episode was when we were fighting the mechanical birds or eagles, they were shooting blasts at us, and I believe those were ice blasts. So when we go back, I actually think we need to be wearing this to help give us some protection against that. So if I come back out of this and go back, so then we have our modifications, which we're going to hopefully get to learn more going forward. Because what I want to do now is approach this merchant who, on the last episode, I confused merchants as side missions. So we come to this merchant here, and let's just look at the weapons. So what we do, we've got our slinger, we've got a rope cast. What we have in our inventory is our trip caster, our sharp shot bow, our rattler, like a Kaju hunter bow. And how do I know that? Because in the bottom left of these icons you can see our sachet. So that's where we've got them stored. We don't have the slinger, which is this slow firing slinger lobs elemental bombs with a large area of effect, best used to inflict elemental states on targets, making them vulnerable to follow-up attacks. And it can be modified, so we can actually watch a movie of it. So we use it to launch damages at multiple enemies. Like you can see there, it's freezing them, so we can use that to get closer. We don't have one of those, but what we do have in the bottom left is shards, so 148 shards. This might sound simple, and if you've been playing this game for a long time it will sound simple to you, but I'm explaining it because, as simple as it sounds, these are things that I didn't quite understand, which is, I feel, it's made the game a lot tougher than it needs to be. So trying to be clear and concise with this, I'm hoping that those who are also just starting the game or going back to it, who may need a refresher, can understand that. So we're going to use 70 to buy this sling. So we now have the sling. I'm not going to equip that right now. We have the rope caster, which this weapon is used to tie down machines and immobilize them. Larger targets require more ropes, and attacking a tied machine will reduce the immobilization time. Also can be modified. Now this, I think, is something that I really should have had earlier, and the reason I say that is if we play the movie, what it does, now as you can see, it's hooked the machine, taken the machine down, which I'll show it again, which once it's down we can go in and we can attack. Now I think that that is probably something that is a definite, so we're going to buy that, and I intend to be using this a lot going forward. The trip caster we have, well, I'll show you the move for that, and the trip caster is when across a machine's path with lay across so yep, get them running, they run into it, there you go, it affects them, takes them down. The war bow, this low damage weapon fires elemental payloads, best used to put targets into vulnerable state, providing a vulnerable combat advantage. So we play this movie, let's see what this does. So it kind of like a stun arrow shooter, which Nice. Imagine using these against sawtooths and things like that. Yeah, this would be very good to use. At the moment we only have 3 shards, so we can't buy that. But the plan of this episode, or what I want to do now that we have that, is actually going to start going out into the wild. So rather than continue with the story, we're going to start doing maybe more side quests and go into the woods, and this will be a kind of like our powering up, our learning how to use things. So you guys can see me as I improve and as I learn how to use things, and you can incorporate that into your own games if you guys are playing. So, sling, freeze robots weak to freeze damage using freeze bombs. Now the question is, do I have any freeze bombs? Because I don't think I do. So crafting, modifying, ammo. Right, so freeze bombs we have 2 freeze bombs, but I don't have the necessary resources to craft them. The resources that we need: 4 metal shards, we only have 3. 2 metal vessels, we have 47. 3 chill waters, we have 50. So we need metal shards, which again we could buy, but shards are what we use to buy things, so we can't buy them. Another reason why we're going to be going into the wilderness. Let's have a look. How do I equip weapons? So that would be the rattler. That's the snap shoot or sharp shot bow. That's our Kaja hunter bow. That's our Kaja hunter bow. That also is, but that uses fire, which we can't make. We don't have all the resources for that. And then this one is for the tripcaster. See, there's also a way to add them to our weapons, which I don't have. So, right, these are equipped to different. So that's to the left. On our here, so when I use R1, and it brings up our little where our weapons are. Go back in, go to our inventory. Here we can see where they are. So equipped is, well, we always have the spear, but left is our Kaija bow, down is our tripcaster, and right is our rattler. Now I want to try, and up is our short bow, so I want to try and get some of these in. So if we have tripcaster, I haven't been using very much, rattler I haven't, but let's move this to our right slot for now. I think that's going to be more useful. And then the rope caster, which I think is going to be very useful, is, let's have that, let's move that to down. If that's up, that's left. So now when we come out of this, what should happen is when I press R1, we've got our freeze bombs and our sling there, which that is allows us to aim it. And then I'm guessing if I use R2, it pulls it back. I don't actually want to fire, so we're going to come out of that. If I push down, we now have our rope caster, which we can aim it. Right, I'm not going to use that right now though. So we have those. So go back to our Kaija hunter bow. We have 1 health. Now the plan is, that being red, we can't pick that up because we've got our inventories full. Speaking of which, before we do go out, let's go back to crafting and see if we can increase the capacity on what we're carrying, because if we can increase this, don't have the resources to upgrade it. Metal shards, okay, so metal shards seems to be a big one. Let's see if there are any side quests that we can do that can help us with that. But I think our side ones, the levels on our side ones, level 30, 25, we're out of our reach. But yeah, you look, it says tutorial sling, freeze robots weak to freeze damage. Oh, the other thing is, like we've been doing, collect everything we can get our hands on. So even the tutorial, we haven't finished the proper tutorial either. Another thing as well I want to get into is hunting. Oh, no, it's not there. Like the resources, farming resources is going to become very important. It's something that I'm going to be looking to improve on. So coming along here, there's a side quest down here, but I don't want to take that right now.
Might regret this.
So I'm running a bit aimlessly at the moment, but that's because we're looking for machines, which this may not be where machines is, but it's somewhere we haven't explored, or I haven't explored. I don't feel I've explored yet, so might as well explore while we're here. 2 metal shards, wires, which we can't collect wire at the moment. So we have machines that are attacking. Now, we use our scanner to look. Weakness is bolt, not bolt, ice. So what I want to do, can we jump down there? So we're going to come to this, which we've only got 2, so you've got to be careful not to waste it. Nope. One more. Oh, they've taken it down. So we've got shock wax root. I'm not sure what that is. We'll have to look that up. Metal shards we need. Sparkler we need. Echo shell and a Legalon heart we can't farm at the moment. So we've got more metal shards. Nice. More metal shards. More health. So our green bar in the top left has gone up, and I grab this one and it should. Oh, it's gone to. Oh, okay. I do vaguely remember them explaining, Rust explaining this when we were doing our training. So it's gone on to the second level now. I don't know if level is the right word. So more health. More health.
Never know when you might need these.
Excellent. One of the weaknesses in the last episode was we didn't have any health, or we only had very little health, so when we lost what we had, we couldn't really do much more.
Contacts. Scanning for scrap.
Oh, I hear something. I'm getting a rumble on this. Okay, so we've got these coming. Actually, it's almost perfect that we have all of these warriors here, because it's almost like they're here to help us learn.
It didn't hit.
So it's using that frozen ability.
Watch the flanks.
Oh, no, health potion. So what that says to me now is what I need to try to do, although now isn't really the time for me to be equipping stuff. But press up, that gives me, we've used one of the herbs to get our health back. Right, if we can get out of the way for a moment. So what I'm going to do now is come into our inventory, go to outfits, and we're now going to wear this. So this should give us some ice protection.